Hello there and welcome to the Dreamy Ocean Channel. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you've had a long day, or perhaps you're the kind of person who likes to drift off, thinking about the mysteries of the deep sea instead of counting sheep. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be. Tonight's journey will take you beneath the waves into the vast blue world where giants still roam. You don't need to do anything now, but rest. Let your breath slow your thoughts soften and your body grow light, as if you're floating gently on calm water. Because tonight, we're going to drift through the ocean alongside some of the largest, most ancient and most fascinating creatures still alive today. Not the sharks of nightmares or sensational films, but the real sharks, the gentle giants, the deep divers, the ancient wanderers who have been gliding through these waters for hundreds of millions of years. We'll meet whale sharks longer than school buses, filtering the sea with mouths wide enough to swallow you whole, yet feeding on creatures smaller than grains of rice. We'll descend into the Arctic darkness with Greenland sharks who live for centuries, moving through freezing water at a pace so slow they seem almost frozen in time themselves. We'll follow great whites on their migrations across entire ocean basins and discover hammerheads whose strange flattened heads hold secrets we're only beginning to understand. Every fact you'll hear tonight is real. Every journey these sharks take is happening right now somewhere in the ocean. While you rest here safe and warm, hundreds of thousands of giant sharks are swimming through waters, both sunlit and pitch black, hunting, migrating, courting, and simply existing in ways that scientists are still working to comprehend. Before we begin, if these gentle explorations help you unwind, or if they give you a peaceful way to end your day, consider tapping the like button and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too. One sleepy soul at a time. But for now, just breathe. Let the waves of words wash over you. Let your mind wander into the blue. And let's begin our slow drift through the world of giant sharks. The whale shark, gentle giant of the open sea. Imagine floating in warm, tropical water, the sun filtering down through the surface in shimmering columns of light. You're suspended in blue, weightless, when suddenly a shadow passes beneath you. Not a quick, darting shadow, but something massive and slow like a submarine drifting through an underwater sky. As it comes closer, you see spots. Hundreds, thousands of white spots scattered across a blue-grey back, like stars across a night sky. The mouth alone is wider than your outstretched arms. And yet this creature, the largest fish in all the world's oceans, poses no threat to you whatsoever. This is the whale shark, and it is currently swimming somewhere in the ocean right now. Not just one, but hundreds, perhaps thousands of them scattered across tropical and warm temperate seas, from the Philippines to the Gulf of Mexico, from the coast of Western Australia to the waters off the Galapagos Islands. Each one a giant, each one gentle, each one still largely a mystery to us despite decades of research. The whale shark can grow to extraordinary lengths. The largest confirmed measurement came from a female captured off the coast of Pakistan, measuring just over 12 meters, though unconfirmed sightings have reported individuals approaching 18 or even 20 meters. To put this in perspective, that's longer than most city buses, longer than a bowling lane, nearly as long as a tennis court is wide. And this is not some prehistoric creature we know only from fossils. This is a living animal swimming through our oceans right now, filtering the sea with a mouth that can open nearly 1.5 meters wide. But despite this enormous mouth, the whale shark feeds on some of the smallest creatures in the ocean. It is a filter feeder, one of only 3 shark species to adopt this gentle lifestyle. As it swims with its cavernous mouth agape, water rushes in, carrying tiny zooplankton small fish eggs and microscopic crustaceans. Modified gill rakers like a dense comb inside its mouth trap anything larger than 2 to 3 millimeters, while the water flows back out through the gills. In this way, a single whale shark can filter more than 6,000 liters of water every hour, extracting calories from the ocean's drifting bounty. Scientists have discovered that whale sharks don't just swim randomly through the ocean hoping to encounter food. They are strategic, sophisticated travelers who follow invisible pathways of productivity. Using chemical cues in the water, whale sharks can detect dimethyl sulfide, a compound released by phytoplankton when they are being eaten by zooplankton. This smell, undetectable to humans, acts like a dinner bell for whale sharks, leading them across hundreds of kilometers of open ocean to areas where food blooms in abundance. These sharks are wanderers on a scale that defies easy comprehension. Satellite tracking has revealed individual whale sharks traveling more than 20,000 kilometers across ocean basins crossing the Pacific, from the Philippines to the Americas, or traversing the Indian Ocean from the Seychelles to Indonesia. They don't migrate in straight lines like many animals do. Instead, they meander following ocean currents, temperature gradients, and those invisible chemical signals that lead them to food. During the day, whale sharks often swim near the surface, their massive dorsal fins sometimes breaking the water like small sails. But when night falls, some individuals dive deep, descending to depths of 2,000 meters or more, into the cold, dark layers of the ocean where sunlight never reaches. Scientists still don't fully understand why they make these deep dives. One possibility is that they're feeding on deep-sea creatures that rise toward the surface at night. Another is that they may be navigating using temperature or pressure gradients to maintain their position in the vast ocean. Or perhaps they're simply exploring moving through their three-dimensional world in ways we cannot yet fathom. What we do know is that whale sharks are surprisingly long-lived. By analyzing growth rings in their vertebrae similar to counting tree rings, scientists have estimated that some whale sharks may live for 60 to 100 years or more. This means that a whale shark swimming past a coral reef today might have been born when your grandparents were young, might have crossed the Pacific dozens of times, might have witnessed the slow changes in ocean temperature and chemistry that we're only now beginning to measure. They are also remarkably vulnerable despite their size. Whale sharks grow slowly mature late in life and produce relatively few offspring. Females are believed to give birth to live young, with one pregnant female found to contain over 300 embryos at different stages of development, suggesting these sharks might store sperm and fertilize eggs over an extended period. But reproduction events have never been observed in the wild, and scientists still don't know where most whale shark populations give birth or how often they reproduce. This reproductive mystery, combined with their approachable nature, has put whale sharks at risk. In some parts of the world, they have been hunted for their meat, fins, and oil. In other areas, they're accidentally caught in fishing nets meant for tuna or other species. Boat strikes are an increasing concern as shipping traffic grows in areas where whale sharks feed near the surface. And climate change is altering the ocean currents and plankton blooms these sharks depend upon. But there is hope. In recent years, many countries have granted whale sharks protected status. Ecotourism has created economic value in keeping these animals alive, with divers and snorkelers traveling thousands of miles for the chance to swim alongside them. Scientists have developed photo identification databases recognizing individual sharks by their unique spot patterns like fingerprints scattered across their skin. Through this work, they're slowly piecing together the life stories of individual sharks, tracking them across years and oceans, learning where they go and why. Right now, somewhere in the warm blue waters of the Coral Sea, or off the coast of Belize, or drifting through the Gulf of Thailand, there is a whale shark swimming slowly through the darkness, its mouth open wide, filtering the ocean's plenty through gills that have evolved over millions of years to extract life from flowing water. It moves with a grace that seems impossible for something so massive, tail sweeping gently back and forth, pectoral fins adjusting slightly to maintain its glide path through the three-dimensional world of the open ocean. And when the sun rises again, when the surface water warms and the light penetrates down to where the shark swims, it will angle upward, rising through layers of water that grow progressively warmer and brighter until it breaks through into the light-filled upper ocean, where it will continue its ancient, patient journey through the blue. The basking shark, silent giant of cold seas. If the whale shark is the gentle giant of tropical waters, then the basking shark is its counterpart in cooler seas, a massive filter feeder that follows the cold, nutrient-rich currents of temperate oceans, from Scotland to South Africa, from California to New Zealand. While whale sharks prefer warm water, basking sharks are creatures of the plankton blooms that flourish in cooler temperatures, following invisible waves of productivity through waters that would seem too cold, too empty to support such enormous animals. The basking shark is the second largest fish in the world, growing to lengths of 9 meters or more, with unconfirmed reports of individuals reaching 12 meters. Their most distinctive feature beyond their size is the enormous mouth that seems almost grotesquely large when fully open, gaping nearly a full meter wide as the shark swims slowly through plankton-rich water. Unlike the whale shark, which can close its mouth and suction feed, the basking shark is an obligate ram filter feeder, meaning it must swim continuously to feed, pushing water through its gills at a rate of up to 2,000 tons per hour. Inside this cavernous mouth are modified gill rakers that look like thousands of tiny hair-like filters arranged in delicate rows. These rakers are so fine they can trap copepods as small as 3 millimeters, straining them from the water as it flows past. During feeding season, when plankton blooms transform vast areas of ocean into thick soups of tiny life, a single basking shark might filter enough water every hour to fill an Olympic swimming pool, extracting millions of copepods, fish eggs, and other tiny organisms. But basking sharks are not always feeding. This is one of their greatest mysteries, and one that puzzled scientists for decades. Every spring and summer, basking sharks appear in coastal waters, off Scotland Island, Cornwall, and the Isle of Man, swimming slowly at the surface with their dorsal fins and snouts often breaking the water. They seem almost lazy, appearing to bask in the sun like massive, slow-moving logs. This is how they got their name, from fishermen who saw them lounging at the surface and assumed they were sunbathing. Then, as autumn arrives, the sharks disappear. For years, scientists believed they were migrating to warmer waters, or perhaps hibernating on the seafloor somewhere in the deep ocean. But satellite tagging has revealed a far more complex picture. Some basking sharks do migrate, traveling thousands of kilometers from the waters off Scotland to the Mediterranean, to the coast of North Africa, even across the Atlantic to waters off Newfoundland. But others don't migrate at all. They stay in the same general area, but they dive deep, descending to depths of 200 to 900 meters, where they spend the winter months in the cold darkness. Recent research suggests these deep winter dives may be for feeding. While surface plankton blooms die off in winter as sunlight diminishes, there exists a deep, scattering layer of gelatinous zooplankton, squid, and other organisms that concentrate in mid-water zones. Basking sharks may be following this alternative food source, diving repeatedly each day in a pattern that resembles the behavior of air-breathing animals coming up for breath, though of course That's not why they're doing it. Scientists currently believe the sharks may be rising toward the surface around midday to warm their massive bodies in the relatively warmer upper layers before diving back down into the cold to feed. This behavioral flexibility reveals an intelligence and adaptability that many people don't associate with sharks. Basking sharks in Irish waters have been tracked showing different strategies even within the same population. While some migrate south to warmer waters off Africa, others remain in Irish seas, and still others travel to unknown destinations in the open Atlantic. These aren't mindless pre-programmed migrations, but individual decisions based on factors we're only beginning to understand. Basking sharks also display behaviors that scientists interpret as courtship. During late spring and early summer, multiple sharks are sometimes seen following each other in lines nose to tail, circling in groups, or even leaping partially or completely out of the water and crashing back down in tremendous splashes. One particularly fascinating behavior recently documented off the coasts of Scotland and Ireland is called torus, swimming, where sharks swim in a circle formation that resembles a donut or wheel when viewed from above. This appears to be a form of group courtship, though no one has ever observed basking sharks mating in the wild. In fact, much about basking shark reproduction remains mysterious. Females are believed to give birth to live young with litter sizes possibly ranging from 6 to 12 pups, though no one knows for certain. The gestation period might be exceptionally long, perhaps 2 to 3 years, and females likely take extended breaks between pregnancies. This means basking shark populations are extremely vulnerable to overfishing. Remove too many individuals, and the population may take decades to recover, if it recovers at all. This vulnerability has led to international protection efforts. In 2020, Scotland designated the Sea of the Hebrides as a marine protected area, specifically for basking sharks, the first area in the northeast Atlantic, to protect these animals. The evidence showed that this region provides crucial feeding habitat and possibly breeding grounds for sharks that return year after year. Individuals that have been photographically identified from their unique fin notches and skin patterns, coming back to the same waters summer after summer, like salmon returning to their birth streams. Right now, even as you read this, basking sharks are swimming somewhere in the world's oceans, perhaps off the coast of Cornwall, where summer visitors might spot their triangular dorsal fins cutting slowly through calm water. Or deep in the North Atlantic, hundreds of meters down in cold darkness, methodically swimming with mouths agape, filtering the deep scattering layer that most humans will never see. Or maybe breaching off the Irish coast, a 5-ton animal launching itself partway out of the water, in a display of power and grace that seems to defy the laws of physics for something so massive. They move through their world with a patience that spans seasons and years, following the invisible rhythms of plankton blooms and ocean temperatures, crossing vast distances in pursuit of food and mates, living lives that stretch across decades in waters, both warm and cold, shallow and deep. The great white shark apex wanderer. When most people think of giant sharks, they think of the great white. This is the shark of legends, of films and documentaries, of fearful imaginings and awed encounters. But the real great white shark is far more fascinating than its reputation suggests. It is not a mindless eating machine, but rather a sophisticated predator, a warm-blooded wanderer, and a creature of surprising grace and intelligence. Great white sharks are large, certainly. Adult females which grow larger than males can reach lengths of 5 to 6 meters, with exceptional individuals possibly approaching 7 meters. They can weigh over 2,000 kilograms, making them among the heaviest predatory fish in the ocean. But size is only part of their story. What makes great whites truly remarkable is their physiology, their behavior, and the extraordinary distances they travel across the open ocean. Unlike most fish, great white sharks are regional endotherms, meaning they can maintain parts of their body at temperatures higher than the surrounding water. Through a specialized heat exchange system in their blood vessels, they keep their swimming muscles, brain eyes, and internal organs warm, even when hunting in cold water. This gives them several advantages. Warm muscles contract more efficiently, allowing for faster swimming and quicker strikes. A warm brain processes information more rapidly, improving reaction times and decision-making ability. Warm eyes function better in low light conditions. This adaptation allows great whites to hunt across a far wider range of temperatures than most sharks can tolerate. They've been recorded in waters ranging from 3 degrees C currents off Alaska to 26 degrees C currents in tropical seas. They can dive to depths exceeding 200 meters where temperatures hover just above freezing, spending time in these cold, dark depths before returning to warmer surface waters. Their internal heat regulation, allowing them to move between temperature zones that would incapacitate cold-blooded fish. Great whites are also astonishing travelers. Scientists once believed they were coastal predators that stayed relatively close to shore, but satellite tagging has revealed them to be true ocean wanderers. One female great white nicknamed Nicole swam from South Africa to Australia and back a round trip of nearly 20,000 kilometers. Another shark tracked off the coast of California traveled to an area between Baja California and Hawaii that researchers have nicknamed the White Shark Cafe, where multiple great whites gather for reasons that remain mysterious. They might be feeding on deep water squid or possibly mating, but the truth is no one knows for certain. These migrations are not random wandering. Great whites appear to follow specific routes, returning to the same locations at the same times of year with remarkable precision. Sharks tagged off South Africa return year after year to seal colonies at Seal Island in False Bay. Great whites that spend summers feeding on seals off California and Guadalupe Island migrate west into the open Pacific in winter, then return the following spring. This suggests sophisticated navigation abilities, possibly using the Earth's magnetic field, ocean currents, temperature gradients, or even chemical cues to find their way across thousands of kilometers of featureless ocean. Their hunting techniques are equally sophisticated. Great whites are primarily ambush predators. Off South Africa and California, they hunt seals by rising rapidly from deep water, striking with tremendous force, sometimes breaching completely out of the water with the seal clenched in their jaws. But they don't just attack randomly. Studies have shown that great whites approach seal colonies during specific times of day, when light conditions favor the shark's vision. They position themselves between the seals and deep water, using the sun's angle to silhouette their prey. They calculate angles and distances with precision that suggests complex spatial reasoning. And contrary to their reputation, great whites are not indiscriminate eaters. They're actually quite selective. When they bite something unfamiliar, such as a surfboard or swimmer, they typically release it after the initial exploratory bite, apparently recognizing that it's not their normal prey. This is why many shark attacks on humans are single bites that, while devastating, are not followed up with continued predation. The shark investigates, determines the person is not a seal, and moves on. This doesn't make the initial bite any less dangerous, but it does suggest these sharks are far more thoughtful than the mindless predators of popular imagination. Great whites also display surprising social behaviors. They're generally solitary hunters, but they have been observed swimming in pairs or small groups, and they appear to establish dominance hierarchies when multiple sharks are present. Larger sharks have priority at kills, and smaller sharks will defer to them through postural signals, particular ways of swimming or positioning their bodies that communicate submission without actual physical conflict. This suggests a level of social intelligence that many fish simply don't possess. Current research suggests great white populations in different ocean basins are genetically distinct, having been separated for thousands of years. The great whites of South Africa are different from those off Australia, which are different from those off California and Mexico. This means what we call great white sharks might actually be several different populations, each adapted to their local conditions, each with their own migration patterns and hunting techniques, each perhaps even differing slightly in appearance and behavior. Right now, great white sharks are swimming in oceans around the world. Perhaps one is patrolling the kelp forests off the California coast, its dark back blending perfectly with the shadowed water, its white belly invisible from below against the bright surface. Or maybe one is hunting in the deep waters off Japan, descending hundreds of meters into darkness before rising toward the surface again. Or circling Guadalupe Island off Mexico, where adventurous divers in submersible cages watch these massive predators glide past with an elegance that seems almost balletic. They are not monsters. They are animals superbly adapted to their environment, filling an ecological role they have held for millions of years, maintaining balance in ocean ecosystems by hunting seals, sea lions, fish, and occasionally other sharks. The Greenland shark, ancient ghost of the Arctic. In the cold, dark waters beneath the Arctic ice, where temperatures hover just above freezing and sunlight barely penetrates. Even in summer, there swims a shark that may be the longest-lived vertebrate on Earth. The Greenland shark moves through this frozen world with a slowness that seems almost supernatural, swimming at speeds of less than 1 kilometer per hour, its massive body drifting through the darkness like a ghost, like a living relic from an ancient world. These sharks are enormous, commonly reaching lengths of 4 to 5 meters, with exceptional individuals possibly growing to 7 meters or more. They are heavy-bodied and thick, built for the cold, with flesh that contains high concentrations of trimethylamine oxide, a chemical that prevents their tissues from freezing in water that would turn a human's blood to ice within minutes. This same chemical makes their flesh toxic to most animals, including humans, unless prepared very carefully through months-long fermentation processes. But the most astonishing thing about Greenland sharks is their age. Through radiocarbon dating of proteins in the shark's eye lenses, which don't change after birth, scientists have determined that some Greenland sharks are more than 400 years old, possibly 500 years or more. To put this in perspective, there are Greenland sharks alive today that were swimming through Arctic waters when Galileo was peering through his telescope, when Shakespeare was writing his final plays, when European ships were first exploring the coasts of North America. This extreme longevity comes with extreme slowness in everything they do. Greenland sharks grow at a rate of less than 1 centimeter per year. They don't reach sexual maturity until they're approximately 150 years old. A juvenile Greenland shark just reaching reproductive age might have been born during the American Civil War. An elderly Greenland shark, thick with centuries of slow growth, might remember waters that were colder pack ice that extended farther south, ecosystems that have since fundamentally changed. They swim through the deep Arctic waters at depths ranging from 100 to more than 2,200 meters. Moving so slowly they seem almost to be drifting with the current. Their metabolism runs incredibly slow, conserving energy in an environment where food can be scarce and unpredictable. Scientists believe this slow metabolism is one key to their longevity. By living life in slow motion, they reduce the cellular damage that accumulates with metabolic processes, allowing them to survive for centuries. But despite their slowness, Greenland sharks are predators. Examination of stomach contents has revealed they eat fish seals, carrion, and occasionally even land animals that have fallen through ice or drowned. One Greenland shark was found with the remains of an entire reindeer in its stomach, though whether the shark actively hunted the reindeer or scavenged its carcass after drowning remains unknown. They have been seen in footage hanging motionless near sleeping seals, then lunging with surprising speed to grab them. Nearly all Greenland sharks are blind or partially blind, their eyes clouded by parasitic copepods that attach to the cornea and dangle in front of the shark's face like grotesque ornaments. These parasites, while disturbing to look at, may actually be beneficial to the shark. Some scientists have suggested they might act as lures glowing faintly in the dark Arctic waters and attracting prey that the shark can then grab with a quick lunge. Whether this is true remains uncertain, but it demonstrates how little we truly understand about these ancient animals. Recent genome sequencing has revealed that Greenland sharks possess unusual adaptations related to DNA repair, particularly in genes associated with longevity like TP53. These genetic modifications might help explain their extreme lifespan, providing insight not just into shark biology, but potentially into the mechanisms of aging itself. Understanding how Greenland sharks resist the cellular damage that causes aging in most animals could one day help us understand human aging and age-related diseases. But these sharks face threats despite their longevity. Climate change is warming Arctic waters, altering the ecosystems they depend upon. Fishing bycatch has been a problem in some areas, with sharks accidentally caught in nets meant for other species. Because they reproduce so slowly and live so long, even modest levels of fishing mortality could devastate populations, removing individuals that might have lived for centuries more, that might have produced dozens of offspring over their extended reproductive years. Right now, as you rest here in the warmth and light, there are Greenland sharks swimming through frigid Arctic darkness, moving through water cold enough to freeze human flesh in minutes. They drift along the seafloor, their heavy bodies moving with a patience that spans not just hours or days, but centuries. Their ancient eyes seeing a world we can barely imagine, a world of eternal cold and darkness, a world that has existed for millions of years in the deep places beneath the ice. Some of these sharks may have been alive when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, when Mozart composed his symphonies, when the first steam engines revolutionized human industry. They survived changes in climate shifts, in ocean chemistry, the rise and fall of fish populations, the arrival of industrial fishing. And they continue to swim slow and steady through waters that have been their home for longer than human civilization has existed. Tiger sharks and bull sharks, adaptable giants. Not all giant sharks live in exotic locations or extreme environments. Some of the most impressive large sharks are generalists, adaptable predators that have colonized a remarkable range of habitats, from coral reefs to river systems, from tropical lagoons to temperate coastal waters. Among these adaptable giants, two species stand out: the tiger shark and the bull shark. Tiger sharks are among the largest predatory sharks in the ocean, regularly reaching lengths of 4 to 5 meters, with exceptional individuals growing to nearly 6 meters. They get their name from the dark vertical stripes that mark their sides, particularly prominent in younger sharks and fading somewhat as they mature. But the most distinctive feature of a tiger shark is not its stripes, but its teeth, which are uniquely shaped with serrated edges and a pronounced notch, allowing them to cut through turtle shells, marine mammal bones, and even seabird feathers with equal efficiency. These teeth reflect the tiger shark's strategy as an apex predator: eat almost anything. Tiger sharks have the most varied diet of any shark species, consuming fish rays, other sharks, sea turtles, seabirds, dolphins, sea snakes, squid crustaceans, and even carrion. Examination of tiger shark stomach contents has revealed license plates, chunks of tire, pieces of armor, and other garbage, though these are accidents rather than purposeful consumption. The shark's powerful jaws and specialized teeth allow it to exploit food sources that other sharks cannot access. Tiger sharks are also remarkable travelers. Satellite tracking has shown individual sharks crossing entire ocean basins, traveling from the Caribbean to the coast of Africa, or from the waters around Hawaii to the coast of Mexico. Some populations appear to be resident, staying in particular areas year-round, while others migrate seasonally, following prey movements or perhaps seeking out optimal breeding areas. In the waters around Hawaii, tiger sharks have been documented making deep dives during the day, descending to depths exceeding 1,000 meters, then returning to shallower waters at night to hunt. Scientists believe they may be following prey that undergoes diel vertical migration, the daily movement of many ocean organisms between deep water during the day and shallow water at night. This behavior demonstrates the tiger shark's flexibility, its willingness to hunt across multiple depth zones to find food. Tiger sharks are viviparous, giving birth to live young in litters that can number anywhere from 10 to 80 pups, depending on the size of the mother. The pups are born fully developed and immediately capable of hunting, receiving no parental care after birth. This reproductive strategy, combined with their adaptable diet and wide-ranging movements, has allowed tiger sharks to maintain relatively stable populations, even as other large sharks have declined. Bull sharks, meanwhile, have mastered an adaptation that sets them apart from almost all other sharks. They can tolerate fresh water. While most sharks are strictly marine, requiring salt water to maintain their internal chemistry, bull sharks possess specialized kidneys and rectal glands that allow them to regulate salt levels in their bodies. This means they can swim freely between salt water and fresh water, ascending rivers far inland, and even residing in freshwater lakes for extended periods. Bull sharks have been found hundreds of kilometers up the Mississippi River, in the Amazon basin, in rivers throughout Australia, and even in Lake Nicaragua, which they can access by swimming up the San Juan River. This ability to enter freshwater systems brings them into contact with human populations far more often than most sharks, and combined with their aggressive temperament and large size regularly reaching 3 meters and occasionally exceeding 4 meters. They are responsible for many more negative interactions with humans than their more famous relatives. Like tiger sharks, bull sharks have a varied diet, eating fish rays, other sharks, dolphins, sea turtles, and birds. They are ambush hunters, often lurking in a murky water where visibility is poor, using their excellent sense of smell and electroreception to locate prey. Their stocky, powerful build allows them to overpower large prey with brute force, and their tolerance for a wide range of salinities and temperatures means they can hunt in environments where other large sharks cannot follow. Both tiger sharks and bull sharks demonstrate the adaptability that has allowed sharks as a group to survive for over 400 million years. While some sharks have become highly specialized, like the filter-feeding whale shark or the cold-adapted Greenland shark, these generalist species can adjust to changing conditions, exploit multiple food sources, and colonize new habitats when opportunities arise. This flexibility may be their greatest strength in a rapidly changing ocean. Right now, tiger sharks are patrolling coral reefs in the Caribbean, swimming through murky water in estuaries off Australia, or cruising the open ocean off the coast of South Africa. Bull sharks are hunting in the brackish waters, where rivers meet the sea, or swimming far upstream in freshwater rivers, their powerful bodies pushing against the current. They are adaptable, opportunistic, and remarkably successful predators, that have found ways to thrive across an impressive range of marine and even freshwater environments. Deep-sea giants, Sixgill's megamouths and sleeper sharks. The sharks we've discussed so far spend at least some of their time in shallow water, in places where sunlight reaches where humans might encounter them. But the ocean has another realm, entirely a vast zone of permanent darkness where pressure is immense and food is scarce, where strange creatures have evolved in isolation from the surface world. And in this deep darkness, there are sharks. The Sixgill shark family includes some of the largest deep-sea predators. The blunt-nosed Sixgill shark can grow to lengths of 5 meters or more, making it one of the largest sharks in the deep ocean. These sharks spend most of their time at depths of 200 to 2,500 meters in waters where sunlight never penetrates and temperatures hover just above freezing. They are primitive-looking animals with 6 gill slits instead of the 5 found in most modern sharks, suggesting they belong to an ancient lineage that has changed little over millions of years. During the day, 6-gill sharks remain in deep water, but at night, some individuals rise toward the surface to feed, following the vertical migration of deep-sea squid and fish. This daily commute can involve ascending hundreds of meters from the cold darkness of the deep sea to the relatively warm surface, waters then descending again before dawn. Scientists who have encountered these sharks in submersibles describe them as curious and unafraid, approaching the lights and cameras with an unhurried confidence that comes from being apex predators in an environment with few threats. The Megamouth shark is perhaps the most mysterious of all giant sharks. Discovered only in 1976, fewer than 300 individuals have been documented in the decades since. The Megamouth is a large filter feeder growing to lengths of 5 to 6 meters, with an enormous rounded head and a huge mouth that glows with bioluminescent tissue. Scientists believe this glowing mouth might act as a lure, attracting the small krill and jellyfish that make up the shark's diet. Megamouths spend the day at depths of 120 to 160 meters, following the deep scattering layer where their prey concentrates. At night, they follow this layer of organisms as it rises toward the surface, sometimes coming within 15 meters of the top. This makes them vertical migrators moving up and down through hundreds of meters of water column every single day in pursuit of food. Everything about the Megamouth suggests an animal adapted to a lifestyle we still barely understand, filtering food from deep water in ways that might be unique among sharks. Pacific sleeper sharks, close relatives of the Greenland shark, inhabit the cold waters of the North Pacific, often at depths exceeding 2,000 meters. Like their Arctic cousins, they are slow-moving and patient, drifting through the deep ocean like massive grey ghosts. They can grow to lengths of 7 meters and are believed to live for decades, possibly centuries, though they haven't been studied as extensively as Greenland sharks. These deep-sea giants face unique challenges. Food is scarce in the deep ocean, so they have evolved slow metabolisms and patient hunting strategies. Many are scavengers, as well as predators feeding on carrion that sinks from above whale falls and large fish carcasses that provide occasional bonanzas of food in an otherwise sparse environment. Their cold-adapted bodies move with a slowness that conserves energy, and their sensory systems are tuned to detect the faint chemical signals and electrical fields generated by potential prey in the darkness. Right now, in the deep trenches of the Pacific, in the cold depths of Alaska, in the underwater canyons that cut through the continental shelf, these deep-sea giants are swimming through darkness that has never known sunlight. They move through pressure that would crush surface-adapted organisms through water so cold it would seem hostile to life. Yet they thrive, they hunt, They survive in an environment that seems almost alien compared to the sunlit surface waters we know. Hammerheads, threshers, and Makos, specialized hunters. Among the ocean's giant sharks, some have evolved extraordinary specializations that set them apart from all others. The hammer-shaped head of hammerhead sharks, the whip-like tail of thresher sharks, and the streamlined speed of Mako sharks each represent unique solutions to the challenges of finding food in the vast ocean. The great hammerhead shark is the largest of all hammerhead species, growing to lengths of 6 meters, or occasionally more, with the distinctive flattened head extending far to each side, like the crossbar of a T. This strange head shape, called a cephalofoil, is not just for show. It houses sensory organs called ampullae of Lorenzini electroreceptors that detect the faint electrical fields generated by all living organisms. By spreading these sensors across a wider area, the hammerhead can scan a larger section of seafloor as it swims, detecting stingrays buried in sandfish, hiding in coral, or prey hidden in murky water where vision is useless. The head also provides hydrodynamic advantages, acting like a wing that provides lift as the shark swims, allowing it to execute tight turns and sudden direction changes that would be difficult for a more conventionally shaped shark. Great hammerheads have been observed using their heads as weapons, pinning stingrays against the seafloor before biting chunks from their wings, apparently unbothered by the rays' venomous spines, which are often found embedded in the sharks' mouths and heads. Great hammerheads are highly migratory, traveling more than 800 kilometers between feeding and breeding areas, showing remarkable site fidelity by returning to the same locations year after year. They're also one of the few shark species that display a behavior called rolled swimming, tilting onto their sides as they travel, which reduces drag and conserves energy during long-distance migrations. But great hammerheads are now critically endangered. Their large fins are highly valued in the international fin trade, and their migratory nature makes them vulnerable to fishing across multiple jurisdictions. Populations have declined by more than 80% in some areas over the past few decades, and despite some protective measures, they remain one of the most threatened large sharks in the oceans. Thresher sharks represent another kind of specialization, the weaponized tail. These sharks, including the common thresher, big-eye thresher, and pelagic thresher, possess tails that can be as long as their entire body, scythe-shaped, and incredibly flexible. This tail is used for hunting in a way that seems almost fantastical. The sharks swim rapidly towards schools of fish, then suddenly decelerate, using their pectoral fins like brakes, whipping their enormously long tails over their heads towards the prey. High-speed video analysis has revealed that these tail strikes are delivered with tremendous force and velocity, creating shockwaves powerful enough to stun or kill multiple fish at once. Some strikes are so forceful, they create cavitation bubbles, pockets of vaporized water that collapse with intense pressure, generating sound, heat, and light through a process called sonoluminescence. The thresher shark then circles back and feeds on the stunned fish at its leisure, a hunting technique that is energy efficient and highly effective. Thresher sharks can grow to lengths of 5 to 6 meters when you include their magnificent tails. They're found in temperate and tropical waters worldwide, often swimming in the open ocean, but sometimes approaching coastal areas to feed. The pelagic thresher is the only species that can be reliably encountered by divers at a few locations in the Philippines, where they visit cleaning stations at dawn, rising from deep water to have parasites removed by smaller fish. Mako sharks, meanwhile, are built for speed. The short-fin Mako is the fastest shark in the ocean, capable of burst speeds exceeding 70 kilometers per hour, fast enough to catch the swiftest fish, and even leap completely out of the water in displays of power that rival any dolphin. They are streamlined and muscular with a pointed snout, large eyes and a tail shaped for maximum thrust. Like great white Makos are regional endotherms maintaining elevated body temperatures that allow their muscles to contract more efficiently. This warm-bloodedness, combined with their hydrodynamic body shape, makes them formidable predators of tuna swordfish and other fast-swimming oceanic fish. They can grow to lengths of 4 meters with females larger than males, and they are pelagic wanderers crossing ocean basins in search of prey. Makos are also among the most acrobatic sharks, frequently leaping out of the water, sometimes clearing the surface by several meters. These breaches may serve multiple purposes, removing parasites, surveying the surface for seabirds, or floating debris that might indicate food below, or simply expressing surplus energy after a successful hunt. Right now, somewhere in the world's oceans, these specialized hunters are swimming. A great hammerhead might be scanning a sandy bottom in the Bahamas, its head sweeping back and forth like a metal detector searching for buried rays. A thresher shark could be approaching a school of sardines off the coast of the Philippines, its impossibly long tail coiled like a spring, preparing to unleash a strike too fast for human eyes to follow. A Mako might be pursuing a yellowfin tuna through the open Pacific, the two animals engaged in a high-speed chase that represents millions of years of evolutionary arms race between predator and prey, ancient lineages and living fossils. When we think about sharks, we often think of them as prehistoric creatures, and in a sense, we're right. Sharks have been swimming in Earth's oceans for more than 400 million years, long before dinosaurs walked the land, before trees grew on shore, before most of the animals we recognize today had even evolved. And some of the giant sharks swimming in the ocean right now represent lineages almost as ancient as sharks themselves. The frilled shark looks like it swam straight out of the distant past. With its eel-like body, primitive features, and more than 300 needle-like teeth arranged in 25 rows, it resembles the sharks that swam in Devonian seas 360 million years ago. Frilled sharks can grow to 2 meters in length, and they live at depths of 600 to 500 meters, occasionally venturing into shallower water, but primarily inhabiting the deep sea, where they feed on squid and fish. Everything about the frilled shark seems ancient. Its 6 pairs of gill slits compared to 5 in modern sharks give it a frilled appearance that inspired its name. Its teeth are designed for gripping rather than cutting, allowing it to hold onto slippery squid in the darkness where most of its hunting occurs. Scientists have described its method of swimming as serpentine, more like an eel than a typical shark, suggesting a body plan that has changed little over millions of years. The 7-gill and 9-gill sharks also represent ancient lineages, primitive sharks that have survived largely unchanged, while more modern shark families evolved, diversified, and sometimes went extinct around them. The broad-nosed 7-gill shark can reach lengths of 3 meters and is found in temperate waters worldwide, often in relatively shallow bays and estuaries, but also venturing into deeper water when necessary. These primitive sharks lack many of the features that make modern sharks such efficient predators. They have only a single dorsal fin instead of 2, and their teeth are different shapes in the upper and lower jaws, unlike the uniform tooth rows of more advanced sharks. Yet despite these primitive features, they are successful predators that have maintained their populations in environments ranging from kelp forests to rocky reefs to sandy seafloors. Carpet sharks, including the massive whale shark, as well as smaller species like wobbegongs, represent another ancient lineage. These bottom-dwelling sharks have flattened bodies, elaborate camouflage patterns, and often elaborate whisker-like barbels around their mouths that help them detect prey buried in sand. Some wobbegong species can reach lengths of 3 meters, lying motionless on the seafloor for hours, or days waiting for fish or invertebrates to swim close enough to grab with a lightning-fast strike. What's remarkable about these ancient lineages is not just that they've survived, but that they've survived alongside more modern, supposedly more advanced sharks. This suggests that there isn't necessarily a better or worse design for a shark, only different solutions to the challenges of life in the ocean. The primitive features of frilled sharks and sevengills work perfectly well for their particular niches, and the fact that more modern sharks evolved doesn't mean these ancient designs became obsolete. In fact, one of the key lessons from studying shark evolution is that diversity is strength. The sharks that survived the great mass extinctions, including the one that killed the dinosaurs, were not necessarily the biggest or fastest or most fierce, but rather those that were flexible enough to adapt to rapidly changing conditions, that could switch prey species when their primary food disappeared, that could move to different depths or different ocean basins when their preferred habitats changed. Right now, in the deep waters off Japan, a frilled shark might be hunting squid in the darkness, its serpentine body undulating through the cold water, its primitive teeth ready to grasp any prey that comes within reach. Off the coast of South Africa, a seven-gill shark could be patrolling a kelp forest, its ancient body plan perfectly adequate for catching the fish and seals that share its habitat. And on a rocky reef somewhere in Indonesia, a wobbegong lies perfectly camouflaged against the coral, its millions of years old hunting strategy still working perfectly in the modern ocean. Conservation and hope protecting the giants. We live in a time of change of challenges that sharks have never faced before. Industrial fishing removes more fish from the ocean than sharks have encountered in their entire evolutionary history. Climate change alters water temperatures and ocean chemistry at speeds sharks cannot adapt to through evolution. Pollution introduces chemicals and plastics into waters that have been clean for millions of years. And yet, despite these pressures, sharks persist, and in some places they're even beginning to recover. The story of shark conservation is not entirely grim. It's true that many populations have declined dramatically. Great whites have disappeared from the Mediterranean, their populations in other regions reduced to fractions of historical numbers. Hammerheads, once common throughout tropical waters, are now critically endangered. Sawfish, technically rays, but closely related to sharks, have been extirpated from much of their former range. But there are also success stories. After decades of protection, great white sharks off California and South Africa show signs of slow population increases. Basking sharks protected under international agreements return year after year to their traditional feeding grounds off Scotland and Ireland. Whale sharks given protected status in many countries and valued for ecotourism rather than fishing maintain stable populations in some regions. The key to these recoveries has been recognition that sharks have value beyond their fins or meat. A living shark can be worth far more through tourism than it would be dead. Divers travel across the world to swim with whale sharks, to cage dive with great whites, to see hammerheads schooling at seamounts. This economic value has motivated governments and communities to protect sharks, establishing marine protected areas, regulating fishing, and sometimes banning shark fishing entirely. Scientific research has also played a crucial role. By tracking sharks with satellites, studying their migration patterns, and understanding their breeding cycles, scientists have identified critical habitats that need protection. They've shown that many shark species travel across international boundaries, requiring cooperation between nations to manage populations effectively. They've demonstrated that sharks grow slowly mature, late, and produce few offspring, meaning populations cannot sustain significant fishing pressure. But perhaps most importantly, research and conservation efforts have helped change public perception of sharks. The mindless monsters of movies and sensational news stories are being replaced by a more nuanced understanding of sharks as complex, intelligent animals that play crucial roles in ocean ecosystems. People are beginning to recognize that oceans without sharks would be fundamentally different, less diverse, less healthy, less resilient to change. Marine protected areas have emerged as one of the most effective tools for shark conservation. These areas where fishing is restricted or prohibited provide safe havens where sharks can feed, breed, and grow without human interference. Research has shown that sharks in protected areas grow larger, live longer, and produce more offspring than sharks in fished areas, and that spillover from these protected zones can help replenish shark populations in surrounding waters. International agreements have also made progress. CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, now regulates trade in many shark species, requiring that international commerce in shark products comes from sustainable sources. Regional fisheries management organizations have established catch limits, banned finning in some areas, and required that sharks be landed with fins attached, making it harder to disguise overfishing. Individual countries have taken bold steps as well. The Bahamas banned all commercial shark fishing in its waters, creating a shark sanctuary spanning hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. Palau, the Maldives, and other island nations have followed suit. These sanctuaries not only protect sharks but also preserve the ocean ecosystems that depend on them, from the smallest plankton to the largest whales. But challenges remain. Many shark populations are still declining. Illegal fishing continues in protected areas. Climate change continues to alter ocean conditions faster than sharks can adapt. And the demand for shark fin soup, shark meat, and shark-derived products remains high in some markets. The future of sharks depends on choices we make today. Will we establish enough protected areas to give sharks room to recover? Will we enforce fishing regulations strictly enough to prevent overfishing? Will we address climate change before ocean conditions change too dramatically? Will we value living sharks more than dead ones? Right now, as you rest here, there are people working on these problems. Scientists studying sharks in remote locations, conservationists working with fishing communities to develop sustainable practices, policymakers negotiating international agreements, educators teaching children about the importance of sharks, and activists pressuring governments and industries to do more. And there are sharks swimming in the ocean, continuing the ancient rhythms that have sustained them for hundreds of millions of years, hunting and migrating and breeding, unaware of the challenges they face, but resilient nonetheless, adapted through deep time to survive in a changing world. As we come to the end of our journey through the world of giant sharks, let your mind drift back through the blue waters we've explored together. The whale sharks filtering plankton from tropical seas, their spotted backs disappearing into the distance. The basking sharks following invisible blooms of copepods through cold, northern waters. The great whites rising from the depths in explosive breaches, and then diving down again into the dark. Remember the ancient Greenland sharks swimming through Arctic waters that have been frozen for longer than civilization has existed, their slow bodies carrying memories of centuries. The adaptable tiger sharks and bull sharks finding ways to survive in environments from coral reefs to river systems. The deep-sea giants Sixgills and Megamouths and sleeper sharks drifting through darkness and pressure that would crush surface dwellers. Think of the hammerheads sweeping their strange heads across the sea floor, detecting prey through electroreception. The threshers whipping their magnificent tails through schools of fish, creating shockwaves that stun their prey. the Mako's faster than any other shark pursuing tuna through the open ocean in high-speed chases that span kilometers. All of these sharks, all of these species, all of these individual animals are out there right now, swimming through waters warm and cold, shallow and deep, clear and murky, following migration routes that their ancestors followed for millions of years, hunting prey using techniques honed by evolution over deep time, raising young who will carry these ancient lineages forward into an uncertain future. They are part of an ocean that is vast beyond imagining, full of life, in forms both familiar and alien, from the smallest plankton to the largest whales. And sharks, these magnificent predators, these gentle giants, these ancient wanderers, play their part in maintaining the balance, the health, the resilience of these marine ecosystems that produce the oxygen we breathe, that regulate the climate we depend on, that have sustained life on Earth for billions of years. As your eyes grow heavy, as your breathing deepens, as you drift towards sleep, carry with you the image of sharks swimming through blue water. They are not monsters, but animals, not villains, but survivors, not relics, but living connections to an ancient past that continues to unfold in the present. They are part of your world, whether you see them or not, swimming in oceans that cover most of the planet, living lives that span decades or centuries, traveling distances that dwarf our own movements, diving to depths we cannot reach without machines. And somewhere in some cold current or warm lagoon, in deep darkness or dappled sunlight, a shark is swimming right now, continuing a journey that began long before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. Part of a story that includes all of us, all life, all the blue planet turning slowly through space. If you enjoyed this gentle exploration of the ocean's giants, consider subscribing to our channel. New videos drift your way regularly, each one designed to ease you towards sleep while filling your mind with wonder. Tap the like button if these journeys through science bring you peace, and turn on notifications if you'd like to know when new discoveries and distant seas call you to rest. But for now, there's nothing you need to do. No facts to memorize, no questions to answer. Just let yourself drift like a whale shark, filtering the warm blue ocean, taking what you need and letting everything else flow gently past. Let the sharks swim on without you. Let the ocean continue its ancient rhythms. Let the darkness be warm and safe and still. Your breathing is slower now. Your body is heavy and relaxed. Your mind is quiet, filled with blue water and drifting shapes with creatures that live in ways we barely understand, in places we can only imagine. You are safe here. You are warm. You are exactly where you need to be. The sharks are still swimming. They will swim all night and all tomorrow and all the days after that. But you can let them go now. You can close your eyes and sink into the soft darkness of sleep, knowing that out there in the vast blue world of the ocean, life continues its ancient dance. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out even slower. Feel yourself sinking gently, peacefully, like kelp drifting toward the sea floor like a tired swimmer, finally reaching shore like a whale shark, descending into the comfortable darkness of the deep, where pressure and cold hold you in a gentle embrace, where currents carry you without effort, where you can simply rest, simply sleep. Megamouth sharks, the deep sea enigma. In 1976, off the coast of Hawaii, a US Navy research vessel hauled up its sea anchor and made one of the most extraordinary zoological discoveries of the 20th century. Tangled in the anchor line was a shark unlike any ever documented before. It measured nearly 5 meters long, weighed over 750 kilograms, and had an enormous gaping mouth lined with silvery tissue that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. The scientists aboard the ship knew immediately they had found something remarkable. This was the first Megamouth shark ever seen by human eyes, a species so different from all known sharks that it required its own family classification. In the decades since that first discovery, fewer than 300 Megamouth sharks have been documented worldwide, making them one of the rarest large animals on Earth. Every sighting is news in the scientific community. Every new individual provides precious data about a species that remains deeply mysterious. The Megamouth shark grows to lengths of 5 to 6 meters, making it one of the largest shark species in the ocean. But unlike the predatory giants we've discussed, the Megamouth is a filter feeder, the third shark species to adopt this gentle lifestyle, alongside whale sharks and basking sharks. Its mouth, which can measure over 1 meter wide when fully opened, is lined with photophores light-producing organs that give the mouth's interior that characteristic silvery glow. Scientists currently believe this glowing mouth serves as a lure in the deep darkness where megamouths spend their days. At depths of 120 to 160 meters far below, where sunlight penetrates this bioluminescent mouth, might attract the small krill copepods and jellyfish that make up the shark's diet. The prey swims toward what appears to be a safe-lit area, only to be swept into the megamouth's enormous trap. But the megamouth doesn't stay in deep water constantly. Like many deep-sea creatures, it follows the vertical migration of its prey, a daily journey that might cover hundreds of meters. Research using acoustic tracking has shown that megamouths rise toward the surface at night, following the deep, scattering layer as it ascends. They may come within 15 meters of the surface, filtering krill and jellyfish from water that's relatively warm compared to the cold depths where they spend their days. Then as dawn approaches, the megamouth descends again, following its prey back down into the darkness. This daily commute exposes the shark to a remarkable range of temperatures and pressures, from the near-freezing waters of the deep sea to the warmer surface layers, then back again. The fact that its body can handle these rapid changes suggests sophisticated physiological adaptations that scientists are only beginning to understand. Most of what we know about megamouth behavior comes from a very small number of observations. One shark tracked off the coast of California for several days revealed the vertical migration pattern. Another, briefly held in captivity in Japan before dying, showed that megamouths are slow swimmers, moving with a languid, almost lazy motion that seems at odds with their massive size. Dissections of dead individuals have revealed stomach contents dominated by euphausiids, small, shrimp-like crustaceans, confirming that despite their enormous mouths, they feed on tiny prey. Reproduction in megamouth sharks remains completely unknown. No pregnant females have been documented, no mating has been observed, no nursery areas identified. Scientists don't know how many offspring they produce, how long gestation lasts, or where pupping occurs. This is partly because megamouths are so rarely encountered, but also because they seem to prefer the open ocean far from the coastal waters, where most shark research occurs. The megamouth's rarity has made it difficult to assess its conservation status. Scientists don't know how many exist, whether populations are stable or declining, or what threats they might face. They're occasionally caught accidentally in fishing nets, and at least one has been found dead after apparently being struck by a ship. But whether these incidents represent significant threats to the species or merely unfortunate individual cases remains unknown. What is clear is that the megamouth represents a lineage of sharks that has managed to survive in deep water by adopting a filter-feeding lifestyle entirely independent of the whale shark and basking shark lineages. This is an example of convergent evolution where unrelated species develop similar solutions to similar problems. The Megamouth's approach differs in details with its bioluminescent lure and deep-water focus, but the basic strategy is the same: filter vast quantities of water to extract small, abundant prey. Right now, somewhere in the ocean, there is almost certainly a Megamouth shark swimming slowly through deep water, its massive mouth agape, its silvery tissues glowing in the darkness. It might be off the coast of the Philippines, where several have been found, or in deep water off Japan, or in the open Pacific far from any land. It swims alone, as all megamouths seem to do, following invisible cues of temperature and prey density that guide it through its daily vertical migrations. We may never fully understand this enigmatic shark. It lives in a realm we rarely visit at depths, where pressure makes exploration difficult and darkness makes observation nearly impossible. But knowing it exists, knowing that these enormous gentle filter feeders glide through the deep ocean, adds to the wonder and mystery of the seas. The biology of giants, how sharks grow so large. Why do some sharks grow to such enormous sizes while others remain relatively small? What allows a whale shark to reach 18 meters, while its close relatives, the wobbegongs, max out at 3 meters? The answer lies in a combination of evolutionary pressures, ecological opportunities, and physiological adaptations that have allowed certain shark lineages to become giants. One key factor is diet. Many of the largest sharks are filter feeders, a strategy that allows them to exploit vast quantities of tiny prey that would be impossible for a bite-feeding predator to catch individually. A great white might spend tremendous energy hunting a single seal, while a whale shark can cruise slowly through a plankton bloom, filtering millions of tiny crustaceans without expending nearly as much energy per calorie gained. Filter feeding is most effective when you have a large mouth to process more water, which incentivizes large body size. But large body size also requires more food to maintain, creating a feedback loop, where filter feeders that can grow larger can process more food, allowing them to grow even larger. This is why the largest fish in the ocean, the whale shark, the basking shark, and the now extinct megalodon have all been filter feeders, or macropredators, that could consume enormous quantities of food. For predatory sharks, large size offers different advantages. Bigger predators can take larger prey, can defend their kills from competitors, and have fewer predators themselves. A 6-meter great white has essentially no natural predators, except orcas and larger great whites, giving it freedom to hunt across a wide range of habitats and depths. This security allows it to live longer, grow larger, and reproduce more often than it could if it remains small and vulnerable. Large size also helps with thermoregulation. Big animals have a lower surface area to volume ratio, meaning they lose heat more slowly than small animals. This is particularly important for the warm-blooded great whites, Makos, and salmon sharks that maintain elevated body temperatures. Their large size helps them retain the heat generated by their swimming muscles, allowing them to hunt in cold water, where smaller sharks would become sluggish and ineffective. But large size comes with costs. Big sharks need more food, grow more slowly, and mature later than small sharks. A whale shark might not reach sexual maturity until it's 25 to 30 years old, and even then, it might reproduce only every few years. This slow reproductive rate makes large sharks vulnerable to overfishing, because removed individuals are replaced very slowly, if at all. Large sharks also face challenges with oxygen delivery. As body size increases, the distance oxygen must travel from gills to tissues increases. Sharks have evolved several solutions to this problem. Their blood has a high capacity for carrying oxygen. Their gills are highly efficient at extracting oxygen from water, And some species have developed countercurrent heat exchange systems that keep their blood flowing efficiently even in cold water. Swimming mechanics also change with size. Small sharks can accelerate quickly and turn sharply, making them effective hunters in complex habitats like coral reefs. Large sharks sacrifice maneuverability for efficiency, with body shapes optimized for cruising long distances at moderate speeds. A whale shark swims with a graceful, undulating motion that looks slow but actually covers enormous distances with minimal energy expenditure. The largest sharks also have different sensory priorities than small sharks. Whale sharks have relatively small eyes because vision isn't their primary sense in the often murky water where they feed. Instead, they rely heavily on chemical detection, following scent trails of dimethyl sulfide to find plankton blooms. Great whites, meanwhile, have large eyes and excellent vision necessary for the precision hunting they employ against fast-moving seals. Interestingly, the largest sharks are also among the longest lived. Greenland sharks can survive for 400 years or more. Whale sharks likely live 60 to 100 years, and even great whites may reach 70 years or beyond. This longevity might be partially a consequence of large size, as bigger animals with slower metabolisms tend to accumulate cellular damage more slowly than small animals with fast metabolisms. But longevity also requires additional adaptations. Long-lived sharks need efficient DNA repair mechanisms to prevent cancer-robust immune systems to resist disease, and physiological systems that can maintain function over decades or centuries. The Greenland shark's genes related to DNA repair and longevity have become subjects of intense study as scientists try to understand how these animals maintain health over such extraordinary timespans. The evolution of large size in sharks has happened multiple times independently. The filter-feeding giants, the fast pelagic predators, the slow deep-sea hunters all evolved large body size through different routes and for different reasons. This tells us that large size is not a single trait, but rather a constellation of adaptations, each tailored to the specific lifestyle and environment of the shark in question. Right now, the ocean contains sharks spanning an enormous range of sizes, from dwarf lantern sharks, less than 20 centimeters long, to whale sharks that could swallow a small car. Each size class represents different evolutionary solutions to the challenges of finding food, avoiding predators, and reproducing successfully in the varied environments of the ocean. Shark senses, perceiving an underwater world. To understand how giant sharks navigate their world, we need to understand how they perceive it. Sharks experience the ocean through a suite of senses that are both familiar and alien to us, combining vision, smell, and hearing, with electrical detection and pressure sensing that have no human equivalents. Vision in sharks varies tremendously depending on species and lifestyle. Great whites have large eyes with excellent vision necessary for the precision hunting they practice. They can distinguish colors and are particularly sensitive to contrast, allowing them to spot the dark silhouette of a seal against bright surface water. Their eyes are also adapted to function across a wide range of light levels, from bright surface water to the dim depths where they sometimes hunt. Whale sharks, conversely, have relatively small eyes positioned on the sides of their heads, giving them wide-angle vision, but less visual acuity. This makes sense for an animal that feeds by filtering rather than targeting individual prey. More important for a whale shark is detecting large-scale environmental features like reef edges, temperature gradients, and the dark patches of water that might indicate plankton blooms. Deep-sea sharks like Sixgills have enormous eyes adapted to gather every available photon in the near-total darkness of their habitat. Their retinas are packed with rod cells which are sensitive to low light, but don't distinguish colors. This gives them the ability to see in conditions that would be pitch black to human eyes, detecting the bioluminescent flashes of deep-sea organisms or the faint silhouettes of prey against the barely lighter water above. But vision is only one sense sharks rely on. Their sense of smell is legendary, and for good reason. Sharks can detect certain chemicals dissolved in water at concentrations as low as 1 part per billion, equivalent to detecting a single drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Their nostrils are not connected to their respiratory system, but instead channel water across sensory tissues that analyze its chemical composition. Different sharks prioritize different scents. Great whites are highly attuned to the smell of seal blood and the chemical signatures of injured fish. Whale sharks can detect dimethyl sulfide, the compound released by dying plankton, being eaten by copepods, allowing them to locate food blooms from kilometers away. Deep-sea sharks are sensitive to the scent of dead animals, sinking from above following these chemical trails, to rare bonanzas of food in the otherwise sparse deep ocean. Sharks also have an acute sense of hearing, detecting low-frequency sounds from great distances. Sounds travel approximately 4 times faster in water than in air, and sharks have evolved to take advantage of this. They can hear the splashing of injured fish, the songs of whales, the engines of boats, and possibly even the sounds of prey moving through sand on the seafloor. This hearing is particularly important for sharks that hunt in murky water or at night when vision is compromised. But perhaps the most alien of shark senses is electroreception, the ability to detect the weak electrical fields generated by all living organisms. Sharks possess specialized organs called ampullae of Lorenzini gel-filled pores, concentrated on the snout and head, that can detect electrical fields as weak as 5 billionths of a volt. This allows them to sense the heartbeat of a fish buried in sand, the muscle contractions of a ray hidden under sediment, or even the electromagnetic field generated by Earth itself. Hammerhead sharks have taken electroreception to an extreme by spreading their ampullae across their wide, flattened heads. As they swim close to the seafloor, sweeping their heads from side to side, they're effectively scanning like a metal detector, building up an electrical map of buried prey that they can strike with precision even in complete darkness or murky water. The lateral line system running along both sides of a shark's body detects pressure waves and water movements. This allows sharks to sense the motion of other fish, the turbulence created by swimming prey, and even the reflections of their own swimming movements bouncing off nearby objects. In essence, it's a sense of touch that works at a distance, allowing sharks to navigate in darkness and detect prey without seeing or smelling it. These senses don't work in isolation, but rather combine to create a multimodal perception of the underwater world. A hunting great white might first detect the splashing sounds of seals, then smell them from hundreds of meters away, then see their silhouettes from tens of meters, then detect their electrical fields from a few meters, and finally use its lateral line to time the perfect strike. Each sense provides information at different ranges and under different conditions, allowing the shark to build up a complete picture of its environment. For us to truly understand how sharks perceive the world, we would need to imagine experiencing water not as a barrier, but as a medium rich with information. Imagine detecting the electrical fields of every living thing around you, sensing pressure waves from their movements, smelling the chemical history of water that has passed over their bodies. The ocean that looks empty to our eyes would be filled with signals and signs, a rich tapestry of information that sharks have evolved to read over hundreds of millions of years. Right now, sharks are using these senses to navigate and hunt across the world's oceans. A great white off California is detecting the electrical field of a sea lion swimming 30 meters away. A hammerhead in the Bahamas is scanning the sandy bottom with its electroreceptors, searching for buried stingrays. A whale shark in the Philippines is following a chemical plume of dimethyl sulfide to a rich patch of plankton. A Greenland shark in the Arctic is detecting the pressure waves created by a swimming seal in near total darkness. Each shark perceives its own version of the ocean, shaped by the particular combination of senses that evolution has given it, experiencing a world that we can barely imagine even with all our technology and understanding. Migration mysteries journeys across the blue. One of the most astonishing things about many giant shark species is the distances they travel. These are not sedentary animals tied to small territories, but oceanic wanderers crossing entire ocean basins, descending to great depths, and following routes that span thousands upon thousands of kilometers. Understanding these migrations has been one of the great challenges of shark science, and satellite tagging technology has finally begun to reveal the scope of these journeys. Great white sharks undertake some of the longest migrations of any fish. The journey of Nicole, a great white tagged off South Africa, remains one of the most remarkable. She swam from South Africa to Australia, a distance of more than 11,000 kilometers, in just 99 days. She didn't travel in a straight line, but rather followed a path that took her through some of the deepest parts of the Indian Ocean, occasionally diving to depths exceeding 900 meters. Then, 9 months later, she returned to South Africa, completing a round trip of nearly 20,000 kilometers. Why make such an enormous journey? Scientists aren't entirely certain, but several theories exist. One possibility is that the journey connects important feeding and breeding areas with South African waters, providing rich hunting, while Australian waters might offer suitable conditions for mating or pupping. Another possibility is that the migration itself is a form of feeding strategy, allowing sharks to exploit seasonal abundances of prey in both regions. Other great white populations show different migration patterns. Sharks that feed off California during summer hunting seals at the Farallon Islands and Guadalupe Island migrate west into the open Pacific during winter. They travel to an area halfway to Hawaii that scientists have nicknamed the White Shark Cafe, where they spend several months before returning to the coast. Tracking data shows they make frequent deep dives while at the cafe, suggesting they might be feeding on deep water squid, though no one has observed this directly. Whale sharks undertake equally impressive migrations, though their routes are driven by plankton blooms rather than specific breeding or feeding areas. Individual whale sharks have been tracked crossing the Pacific from the Philippines to the Americas, traveling more than 20,000 kilometers over the course of several years. They don't follow straight routes, but instead meander, apparently following chemical and temperature cues that lead them to productive areas. The migration of basking sharks puzzled scientists for decades because the sharks simply disappeared each autumn, vanishing from their summer feeding grounds off Scotland Island and Cornwall. Where they went remained unknown until satellite tagging revealed that different individuals follow different strategies. Some migrate thousands of kilometers south to warmer waters off the Mediterranean or West Africa. Others stay relatively close, but dive deep, spending winter at depths of 200 to 900 meters. Still others cross the Atlantic, entirely appearing in waters off Newfoundland, before returning to European seas the following summer. This variety of strategies within a single population suggests that basking shark migrations are not rigid, pre-programmed behaviors, but rather flexible responses to local conditions. Sharks that find adequate food during deep winter dives may not need to migrate, while those in areas where deep water food is scarce might benefit from long-distance travel to warmer, more productive waters. Tiger sharks show similar flexibility. Some populations are residents staying in the same area year-round, while others migrate seasonally. In Hawaiian waters, tiger sharks make regular dives to extraordinary depths, sometimes exceeding 1,000 meters, apparently following the vertical migration of deep-sea prey. Off the coast of Western Australia, tiger sharks migrate north during winter, possibly seeking warmer water or following prey movements. The navigation mechanisms sharks use for these migrations remain partially mysterious. They likely use multiple cues, ocean temperature gradients, current patterns, the position of the sun and stars, chemical signatures in the water, and possibly Earth's magnetic field. Studies have shown that some sharks have magnetite crystals in their brains, similar to the magnetoreception systems found in migrating birds. These could allow sharks to sense the direction and strength of the magnetic field, providing a kind of internal compass. Some sharks may also use landmarks, though not in the visual sense we might imagine. Underwater seamounts, the edges of continental shelves, temperature fronts, and other oceanographic features might serve as navigational reference points that sharks learn to recognize through repeated exposure. Young sharks might learn migration routes from older sharks, though evidence for this kind of cultural transmission in sharks is limited. What is clear is that these migrations are not random wandering, but purposeful journeys to specific destinations. Sharks return to the same locations year after year, sometimes after traveling thousands of kilometers across featureless ocean. This level of navigational precision requires sophisticated cognitive abilities and sensory systems that we're only beginning to understand. The energy costs of these migrations are also substantial. Swimming thousands of kilometers requires enormous caloric expenditure, meaning sharks must build up fat reserves before migrating or feed along the way. Some sharks appear to do both, fattening up in productive feeding areas before beginning their journey, then feeding opportunistically on any prey they encounter during migration. Climate change is beginning to affect these ancient migration patterns. As ocean temperatures warm and currents shift, the locations of plankton blooms, fish populations, and upwelling zones are changing. Sharks that have followed the same routes for thousands of years may find that their traditional destinations no longer provide adequate food or suitable conditions. How quickly they can adapt to these changes remains an open question. Right now, at this very moment, there are sharks undertaking these epic journeys. A great white might be swimming through the deep Pacific hundreds of kilometers from the nearest land, following internal cues that we can barely comprehend toward a destination it has never consciously chosen, but has been driven to by millions of years of evolution. A whale shark could be crossing the Indian Ocean, filtering plankton as it swims following the scent of dimethyl sulfide across thousands of kilometers of open water. These migrations connect disparate parts of the ocean, moving nutrients and energy across vast distances, linking ecosystems that might seem separate to our land-based perspective. The sharks are not just traveling through the ocean, they are part of its circulation, part of its living heartbeat, moving through ancient pathways that have existed since long before humans ever looked at the sea. Reproduction and family life, the next generation. The way giant sharks reproduce reveals much about their biology, their vulnerabilities, and the challenges they face in a changing ocean. Unlike most fish, which release millions of eggs into the water and provide no parental care, sharks have evolved sophisticated reproductive strategies that involve fewer offspring but greater investment in each one. Most large sharks are either ovoviviparous or viviparous, meaning they give birth to live young rather than laying eggs. In ovoviviparous species, eggs develop inside the mother's body, with embryos nourished by yolk sacs rather than a placental connection. This strategy is used by great whites, makos, threshers, and many other large sharks. The mother essentially acts as a living incubator, protecting the developing embryos inside her body until they're large enough and developed enough to survive on their own. In some species, this internal development leads to remarkable behaviors. Sand tiger shark embryos, while still inside their mother, develop teeth and begin eating their siblings, a process called intrauterine cannibalism. The first embryo to develop in each of the mother's two uteruses consumes all the other embryos and any unfertilized eggs, so that only two pups, one from each uterus, are born. This ensures that the pups that do survive are large, well-nourished, and ready to hunt immediately upon birth. Viviparous sharks, including hammerheads and bull sharks, have developed a placental connection similar to mammals. The embryo attaches to the uterine wall through an umbilical cord, receiving nutrients directly from the mother's bloodstream. This allows for more efficient nutrient transfer and can support larger litter sizes than ovoviviparous development. A bull shark might give birth to 10 or more pups, while a hammerhead can produce litters of 20 to 40. But regardless of the specific mechanism, all large sharks share one characteristic: they produce relatively few offspring compared to most fish. A female great white might give birth to only 4 to 10 pups in a litter, and she may only reproduce every 2 or 3 years. A whale shark's litter size is still unknown, though one pregnant female was found containing over 300 embryos at various stages of development, suggesting a remarkable and unique reproductive strategy. This low reproductive rate is partly compensated by the fact that shark pups are born large and well developed. A newborn great white is already over 1 meter long and capable of hunting fish. A baby tiger shark is born with its characteristic stripes and sharp teeth, ready to begin its life as a predator. Unlike fish that scatter thousands of tiny eggs and hope a few survive, sharks invest heavily in each offspring, giving them a better chance of reaching adulthood. Gestation periods in large sharks can be extraordinarily long. Great whites are believed to carry their pups for 12 to 18 months. Frilled sharks may have gestation periods exceeding 3 years, the longest of any vertebrate. During this time, the mother must find enough food not just for herself, but for the growing embryos inside her, a significant energy demand that helps explain why reproduction is so infrequent in many species. Where sharks give birth, called pupping grounds or nursery areas, remains unknown for many species. Great whites are believed to pup in warm coastal waters, possibly off California, Mexico, and the Mediterranean, but no one has ever observed a great white giving birth in the wild. Whale shark pupping has never been documented. Even for better studied species like bull sharks and lemon sharks, nursery areas have only been identified through years of careful observation, tracking young sharks in shallow bays and estuaries, where they spend their first years. These nursery areas serve crucial functions. They typically have abundant food in the form of small fish and invertebrates. They're often in shallow water where large predators, including larger sharks, are less common. And they may have environmental conditions such as specific temperatures or salinities that support rapid growth in young sharks. Young sharks often remain in nursery areas for several years before venturing into deeper water or beginning migrations. During this time, they grow rapidly, feeding constantly to build the size and strength they'll need to survive in more dangerous waters. Juvenile great whites off California feed primarily on fish, only switching to marine mammals once they've grown large enough to tackle such substantial prey. Maturation in large sharks takes years or even decades. Great whites may not reach sexual maturity until they're 10 to 15 years old. Whale sharks might mature at 25 to 30 years. Greenland sharks don't reach maturity until approximately 150 years of age, meaning a shark born during the American Civil War might just now be having its first offspring. This slow growth and late maturation make large sharks extremely vulnerable to overfishing. Remove too many individuals, especially large females, and the population's ability to reproduce is severely impacted. Recovery can take decades, and in some cases, depleted populations may never recover to their historical levels. Mating in sharks can be a rough affair. Males often bite females during courtship, and mating leaving scars and wounds that can take weeks to heal. Female great whites and other large species often have thicker skin than males, an adaptation that helps them withstand this rough treatment. In some species, females have been observed avoiding males entirely outside of breeding season, possibly to avoid the injuries that mating inflicts. Sperm storage is common in many shark species, allowing females to fertilize eggs months after mating. This means a female shark might mate in one location, migrate thousands of kilometers, and then use stored sperm to fertilize eggs in her pupping grounds, ensuring her offspring are born in the most suitable habitat possible. Understanding shark reproduction is crucial for conservation. Species that reproduce slowly cannot sustain high levels of fishing mortality. Protecting nursery areas is essential because losing these habitats removes the places where young sharks grow and develop. And ensuring that mature females survive to reproduce multiple times over their lifetimes is vital for maintaining stable populations. Right now, somewhere in the ocean, a pregnant female shark is carrying the next generation. Perhaps a great white in Australian waters, her belly swollen with developing pups, is hunting seals to build up the energy reserves she'll need to give birth. Or a whale shark is swimming through the open Pacific inside her body, hundreds of embryos at different developmental stages, a reproductive mystery we're only beginning to unravel. Or a hammerhead in the Gulf of Mexico is approaching a shallow bay that has served as a nursery for her species for thousands of years, preparing to give birth to pups that will spend their first years in these protected waters. The human connection. Sharks and people across time. The relationship between humans and sharks stretches back thousands of years, woven into cultures around the world through myth, art, fear, and reverence. Long before modern science began studying sharks, coastal peoples encountered these animals and developed complex understandings of their behavior, their importance, and their power. In Hawaiian culture, sharks were Aumakua family guardians that protected specific lineages. Particular sharks were believed to be ancestors taking physical form, and families would honor them with offerings and prayers. Some families claimed they could recognize their shark guardian by specific markings or behaviors, and stories tell of sharks guiding lost fishermen home or defending people from other dangers in the sea. In Polynesian navigation traditions, sharks served as signs and guides for ocean travelers. The presence of certain shark species indicated proximity to land, while others suggested deep ocean currents. Traditional navigators understood that sharks congregated in specific areas, often at seamounts or other underwater features, and this knowledge helped them navigate across thousands of miles of open ocean without instruments. In Fiji and other Pacific islands, shark calling was a specialized skill passed down through families. Callers would use rattles, chants, and specific knowledge of shark behavior to attract sharks close to shore, where they could be caught or observed. This wasn't simply fishing, but rather a spiritual practice that demonstrated the caller's connection to the ocean and its inhabitants. In contrast, European and later American cultures often viewed sharks with fear and hostility. Medieval bestiaries described them as sea monsters, and sailors told tales of sharks following ships, waiting for the sick or dead to be thrown overboard. This fear intensified after highly publicized shark attacks in New Jersey in 1916, which inspired decades of shark hunting competitions and the development of sharks as villains in popular culture. The 1975 film Jaws crystallized these fears in the public imagination, portraying great white sharks as vindictive killers that stalked humans. While the film was fiction, its impact on shark populations was real. Shark fishing increased dramatically both for sport and out of fear. Governments implemented shark control programs, setting nets and drumlines to kill sharks in swimming areas. Public opinion turned decisively against sharks, viewing them as enemies rather than animals worthy of protection. But understanding has gradually shifted. Scientists studying sharks began revealing their true behavior, showing that attacks on humans are rare, usually cases of mistaken identity, and that sharks play crucial roles in ocean ecosystems. Documentaries showed the grace and beauty of sharks, rather than just their teeth. Encounters with whale sharks, those gentle giants that posed no threat whatsoever, helped people see that not all sharks match the Jaws stereotype. The development of ecotourism has created economic incentives for protecting sharks. A living shark can generate thousands of dollars per year through diving tourism, far more than the one-time value of its fins or meat. Countries and communities have recognized this, establishing shark sanctuaries and marine protected areas where sharks are valued for their existence rather than their exploitation. Yet in many parts of the world, sharks remain primarily a resource to be extracted. Shark fin soup, a traditional delicacy in Chinese culture, drives a massive international trade in shark fins. Fishing vessels cut the fins from sharks and dump the bodies back into the ocean, a wasteful practice called finning that has devastated shark populations worldwide. Though many countries have banned finning illegal fishing, and poor enforcement continue to threaten sharks. Shark meat is consumed in many countries, though it often contains high levels of mercury and other pollutants that bioaccumulate in these long-lived predators. Shark liver oil is used in cosmetics and health supplements. Shark cartilage is sold as alternative medicine despite no scientific evidence of efficacy. These markets create economic incentives for catching sharks faster than populations can replace themselves. But there are also growing movements to protect sharks. Scientists work with fishing communities to develop sustainable practices. Conservation organizations lobby for stronger protections and enforcement. Educators teach children about shark ecology and conservation. And increasingly, people around the world are recognizing that an ocean without sharks would be fundamentally diminished. Traditional ecological knowledge from indigenous cultures is also being recognized as valuable for shark conservation. Pacific Islanders who have fished sustainably alongside sharks for thousands of years offer insights into shark behavior, seasonality, and population health that complement scientific research. Integrating this traditional knowledge with modern science creates more comprehensive and effective conservation strategies. The challenge now is translating this growing appreciation for sharks into effective action. This means establishing and enforcing marine protected areas, regulating fishing to sustainable levels, banning the most destructive practices like finning, addressing climate change that threatens shark habitats, and continuing to educate the public about the importance of sharks in ocean ecosystems. Right now, the relationship between humans and sharks is at a crossroads. In some places, sharks are recovering, protected by laws and valued by communities. In other areas, they continue to decline, victims of overfishing and habitat degradation. The future of giant sharks depends on choices we make today about how we value these ancient predators, how we manage ocean resources, and what kind of ocean we want to leave for future generations. The Poetry of Predators, Reflections on Living Giants. As we near the end of our journey through the world of giant sharks, it's worth pausing to consider what these animals represent, what they teach us, and why they matter beyond their immediate ecological roles or their economic value. Giant sharks are living connections to an ancient past. The basic body plan of sharks has remained largely unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. When a great white glides through the water today, it moves with the same essential grace as its ancestors did in seas that existed long before flowering plants appeared on land, before birds evolved from dinosaurs, before continents had assumed their current configurations. This deep history should humble us. We humans have existed as a species for perhaps 300,000 years, and civilization for perhaps 10,000. Sharks have been perfecting their craft for 400 million years or more. They survived the extinction event that killed the dinosaurs. They adapted to ice ages and warm periods, to changing ocean chemistry and shifting continental arrangements. They represent a lineage of survival that dwarfs our own brief existence. Yet despite this ancient heritage, despite their size and power, sharks are vulnerable to our actions in ways they never have been before. In just a few decades of industrial fishing, we've reduced many shark populations more dramatically than millions of years of natural pressures ever did. This is both a tragedy and a responsibility. We have the power to drive these ancient lineages to extinction, but we also have the power to protect them, to allow them to continue their long journey through time. Giant sharks also teach us about the ocean itself. These animals span enormous distances, dive to great depths, and connect ecosystems across vast areas. By studying their movements, we learn about ocean currents, temperature gradients, and the distribution of prey species. By understanding their physiology, we gain insights into adaptation longevity and the mechanisms of aging. By protecting them, we protect the web of life they're part of, from the smallest plankton to the largest whales. There is also something aesthetically powerful about sharks, something that moves us beyond rational understanding. The sight of a whale shark, its massive spotted body drifting through blue water, fills people with wonder. The breach of a great white, thousands of pounds of muscle and teeth exploding from the sea, is simultaneously terrifying and beautiful. The slow, ghostly movement of a Greenland shark through Arctic darkness speaks to something primal in us, a recognition that we share this planet with beings whose experience is utterly different from our own. This wonder matters. It's what motivates people to care, to protect, to change their behavior in ways that benefit sharks and the ocean. When children watch documentaries about sharks, some of them become marine biologists, conservationists, or simply adults who care about the ocean. When divers swim with whale sharks, they often describe it as life-changing, an experience that shifts their perspective on the natural world and their place in it. But wonder alone isn't enough. It must be coupled with action, with concrete steps to protect sharks and their habitats. This means supporting marine protected areas, choosing sustainable seafood, reducing our carbon footprint to slow climate change, and supporting organizations working on shark conservation. It means recognizing that the ocean is not an infinite resource that sharks can disappear if we don't actively work to protect them. The story of sharks is ultimately a mirror held up to ourselves. How we treat these animals reflects our values, our relationship with nature, and our vision for the future. Do we see the ocean as a resource to be exploited until it's exhausted, or as a living system we're part of and responsible for? Do we value immediate profit over long-term sustainability? Do we recognize that other species have intrinsic worth beyond their utility to us? These are not easy questions, and the answers vary across cultures and communities. But increasingly, people around the world are arriving at similar conclusions: that sharks matter, that oceans need them, that we have both the responsibility and the ability to ensure their survival. Right now, giant sharks swim through waters that have been their home for millions of years, carrying out the same essential behaviors that have sustained their lineages through countless generations. They hunt and migrate, give birth and grow, moving through their world with an elegance that evolution has refined over deep time. They know nothing of our debates about conservation, our struggles to balance economic needs with environmental protection, our efforts to understand and protect them. They simply are. Ancient, powerful, vulnerable, and magnificent. Living reminders that we share this blue planet with creatures whose existence enriches the world in ways both measurable and ineffable. And so our journey through the world of giant sharks comes to a close. Let the facts and figures fade now. Let the names of species blur together. Let the specific details of migrations and behaviors dissolve into a general sense of wonder at the vast living oceans. Imagine yourself floating in warm water, weightless and safe. The blue stretches endlessly in all directions. Below you, barely visible in the distance, a shape moves through the deeper water. You can't quite tell what it is. Perhaps a whale shark gliding along with its mouth gently agape, filtering the sea. Perhaps a basking shark following invisible currents of food. Perhaps something stranger, a Megamouth, or a Greenland shark moving through its world in ways you can barely comprehend. The shape grows fainter, dissolving into the blue distance. Your eyes grow heavy. The water around you is warm and gentle, holding you up without effort, rocking you with rhythms as old as the ocean itself. Somewhere far below, in the deep darkness where sunlight never reaches, sharks are swimming. Sixgills and sleeper sharks, frilled sharks and gulper sharks, moving through cold and pressure that would seem hostile to life, but is simply home to them. Somewhere to the north, beneath Arctic ice, a Greenland shark drifts through frigid water. Its ancient body carrying centuries of memory, its slow heartbeat marking time in a frozen world. Somewhere in the tropics, a whale shark rises toward the surface, preparing to take a breath of air before diving back down to continue its endless filtering of the sea. Let these images drift through your mind like clouds appearing and fading, bringing no urgency, requiring no effort to hold or understand. A hammerhead sweeping its strange head across the seafloor. A thresher shark with its whip-like tail coiled and ready. A great white rising from the depths, its dark back fading into lighter belly, perfectly camouflaged from above and below. You are safe here in this quiet blue space. The sharks swim on without you, continuing journeys that began before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. They need nothing from you right now, except perhaps your caring, your willingness to see them as more than monsters, or resources, your recognition that they have a place in this world that should not be taken from them. Your breathing has slowed, deep and easy now, like waves on a calm beach. In and out, each breath, a little deeper, a little slower, carrying you down into the soft darkness of sleep, the way a diving shark descends into the darkness of the deep sea. The blue around you is fading to black now, not a frightening darkness, but a gentle one, warm and soft, like the water itself. You can still sense the sharks out there moving through their world, but they're distant now, faint presences at the edge of awareness, like stars barely visible in a city sky. Let them go. Let the ocean go. Let the wonder and the worry both dissolve into this quiet darkness. There is nothing you need to hold on to, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to do. Just breathe and float, and slowly, gently, inevitably sink down into sleep. The sharks are still swimming. They will always be swimming somewhere in the vast blue world of the ocean. But you can rest now. You can let your mind grow quiet. Let your body grow heavy. Let sleep wrap around you like warm water. Breathe in and out, in and out. The blue fades to black. The sharks fade to dreams, and you fade into sleep, drifting down like kelp, settling onto the seafloor like sand filtering through water, like a tired swimmer finally reaching shore. Safe, warm, at peace. Good night.